So exciting news in the Boyschel house.
Let's hear it.
I just got a Bluetooth radio put in my 2001 Toyota Tundra.
You're high class, man.
You have no idea. I've never owned a vehicle that was mine. My wife's had a few, but I've never had a vehicle that has had Bluetooth in it.
Wow.
So I actually went and bought a brand new Bluetooth unit for my truck.
Nice.
Best Buy, if you spend $200 or more on a unit, you get the install for free.
They installed it for you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't have to touch it.
That's crazy.
They did a phenomenal job. Like within an hour, dropped it off, went shopping with the wife.
Best Buy?
Best Buy.
Shout out to Best Buy. Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
So they installed the radio for free. I didn't have to pay any extra money. I just had to pay for the harness, the unit,
Yeah.
and the little.
That's a big deal, man, because that's a pain.
Yeah. And the guy was so good that when I got there, he realized he actually crossed one of the speaker wires. It's not a big deal. It just, when you go to do the settings, it was off. And so he's like, oh, no problem. So I watched him take the whole radio out, fix the issue, put it back in within about 5 minutes.
Wow.
So I think the longest time is just matching all the wires. But yeah, so I have Bluetooth now in my truck, and my kids are super excited. I'm super excited. So dressing up
now
the
you
truck.
can listen to Frozen on the way to school. In the
I
morning.
know, right? We actually listened to Bluey on the way into school today.
There you go.
Yep. And yeah, just kind of making the truck nice.
Yeah.
It's an old girl, but she still runs good.
Yeah, you're sweetening her up a lot, right? You're putting ball joints and
I've got
arms.
One of our listeners offered to help me with the upper control arms,
nice.
Ball joints, lower control arms. Gonna re-grease everything. I'm putting all greasable joints in, so
nice.
It's gonna be great. And then putting a rooftop tent on, so we'll have a race rig.
There we go.
We can travel around and do races.
Be true ultra runners.
I love
nomads.
it. Yeah, hippie life.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Our wives won't see us for a month.
Yeah.
Not really.
No,
they would track us down.
They would. We'll have to get them like an RV or something to follow behind us.
Yeah, they don't want to sleep in their rooftop tent.
No, not at all. Welcome back to another episode of the Suffer Up podcast with Nate and Ryan. We want to just give a quick shout out to our sponsors here at the beginning. We're going to dive into today's deep topic. Sofsocs. We're super excited to be partnered with Sofsocs. They make a toe sock for your feet, obviously, that is a compression fitting. We love their socks. I have been exclusively running in them now for about a month, and I have absolutely loved their product, and I'm super thankful to be partnered with them. We have a discount code. Discount code is SUFFER10. You can log on to our link tree, which will be in the description of this podcast, and you can click on it. It will take you right to Sofsocs. We put them at the top for a reason. Click on it, and at your checkout, just enter SUFFER10, and you'll get some money off of your sock products. So thank you again, Sofsocs, for sponsoring this show, and we're very pleased to be partnered with you. We also do have an announcement for our listeners that on Memorial Day, we will be attending the Lou workout over in Niceville.
Yep.
With them, we'll be under their tent.
That workout's happening at, I believe it's called Blue Water Fitness.
Yes.
Over there.
Blue Water CrossFit. And so, yeah, we're going to be over there underneath their tent. Hopefully be able to connect with some of you guys who are listening, and hopefully be able to share the love of Suffer Up with other people and maybe connect with some new listeners.
Yeah, I think we're going to try and do a giveaway then too.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're in the Florida Panhandle or lower Alabama or lower Georgia area, maybe even.
Yeah.
Come on down and come check it out. Come see us. Come work out for a good cause and remember a fallen hero.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be a good time for sure to be able to network and connect with people and do an awesome workout with some great dudes and women that'll be there doing some physically challenging things and testing each other. So it'll be a good time.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So Ryan and I sat down and we were looking at episodes coming up, and we had an outline of a lot of episodes. And two of the episodes that we kind of kept pushing back. We didn't know when to put it into our pipeline. But the two episodes, this one and then soon to follow, will be the next Ryan's. But we're going to just kind of share our more intimate stories of our lives and some of the things that we've had come up in our life. We feel like we have some relatable things that, we're just two fish in a big sea, but we have some real stories to be able to bring to light and some experiences that hopefully our listeners will be able to relate to. So today I'm going to be sharing with you my story and a little bit about who I am and some of the issues that I've had throughout my fire service career and some of the sufferings, if you will, that I've had later on in my life and in my career. So it's going to be a lot of Nate talking today, so I apologize about that, but Ryan's going to kind of chime in, and we intentionally did not share all of these with each other, so that way it'll be more of a conversation. So we hope that you enjoy this episode on the Suffer Up podcast with Nate about Nate. So I'll just go ahead and jump into it. So my name is Nate. I grew up in southern Wisconsin in a very rural, small town. I had a great upbringing. My mom and dad are phenomenal people and raised me up in church, and I was very involved with church growing up. But I went to public school, and I was very involved with the outdoors. I enjoyed hunting, fishing. I lived on the river. Growing up, we used to take a little 10-foot john boat with a 1960s outboard and go putts up the river. And, we used to do all the fun things that any rural kid would do, spend time on the river, spend a lot of time in the deer stand, and just being outside and enjoying hunting and fishing. That's really, when you think about southern Wisconsin cornfields, there's not a whole lot to do other than that.
What's your best memory from hunting as a kid?
Hunting as a kid? Probably my first traditional longbow. So I hunt with a longbow.
Oh, cool.
And so my first traditional kill with a longbow, that was really pretty special. At the time, I think I was 12 or 13, and I was only pulling 33 pounds back. That's why it kind of cracks me up, the compound guys that talk about, like, you got to have 70-pound longbow. I'm like, well, I killed my first deer with 33 pounds. So, so yeah, probably that. But I had some really good friends that, we spent a lot of time. We'd be sitting in the McDonald's together because that was the only really place to eat late at night. What do you guys want to do? Oh, let's go down to so-and-so's farm and go shoot raccoons. Like that was our fun, So we got into all sorts of fun mischief as a kid, but I think that kids just need some of that explorative fun.
They need a exploration outlet.
Yeah.
They talk about like creative outlets, but
yeah,
I think exploration outlet is even better, especially in a small town.
Oh, yeah. So, that was kind of my upbringing. I ran cross country and did track in high school. I played soccer a lot, all the way up until about high school. And then I got into running and did cross country. I was never like great, but I just barely made the varsity running team type deal. And then in track, I was kind of the wild card. So they oftentimes would put me in really weird races that I normally wouldn't ever run. So I was more of a distance runner. So I would do like the mile or 2 mile. Yeah. And I got picked to do the 4x8, be part of the relay. So they put me in the middle somewhere. They put the fast guy at the front and then the really fast guy at the end. And then they just kind of put Nate in the middle. Because I was never like the fastest guy, but I was like close, in high school.
You're good.
Yeah. And then they put me in.
What'd you call yourself? The slow fast guy?
I was the
fast slow guy.
I was the fast slow guy. Yeah. You're the slow fast guy.
I'm the slow fast guy. Okay.
And then so they actually put me in a 200-meter relay once.
Nice.
Or in the 200-meter open.
How'd that go?
It actually went really well.
Yeah?
Yeah, so in the slow heat, I finished first.
Hey.
It's the only race I've ever finished first.
You are the fast slow guy.
Yeah. So I was in the slow heat and I finished first. I got lane 4 for that. Anybody who knows track, lane 4, they intentionally put in a faster time. I never really ran a 200.
So that they helped you out and put you in that.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to put you in lane 4. Just run your heart out. And so they put like a really good time in there just so that I would get a good heat.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially they lied, and I ended up actually outperforming the time that they put. So it worked out quite well. And then they would put me in the 2 mile. And they'd say, all right, Nate, you're going to be the rabbit. This guy's going to be the fastest. You just got to run and wear him out. That's your job so that the other guy can pass him on like the last 2 laps.
Yeah.
So your goal is to just wear him out and get in his head, like get right on his heels.
You just need to run a mile and a half fast.
Right. Yeah. So your race is a mile and a half and you've accomplished because everything's based off points. So that was kind of my track career, if that makes sense.
Sounds like you were a real team player, like your whole time running.
Yeah,
and soccer too, I assume.
that's fair. Yeah, I was just kind of the wild card.
Yeah, a lot of times people associate like running as an individual sport, and like, oh, it's just you out there running.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you're the one running, but it really is a team mentality, even in cross country, because they take the highest of the whole team,
Right.
maybe the top 5 or something.
Yep.
I don't remember exactly, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of my running career, and they even had me pole vault once.
Wow.
Yep. So
How'd that go?
The day before the meet, they said, "Hey, we need a pole vaulter because we need somebody else to basically make the open height or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the exact verbiage now, but they basically took me out back and they gave me a pole and they said, "Yeah, you just run, put it in the box, and then just kind of try to flex it a little bit and get over the bar, but you gotta make open," which I think at the time was like 8 feet or something, really low.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. So I basically just catapulted myself over it and made open height, which accomplished the team mission or whatever
Nice.
they were trying to accomplish.
Again, team player, man.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'll pole vault. That's fine. I'll
I
do
just
it.
knew you were the guy for the team.
Yeah. And I did it and I didn't get hurt. So that's a win.
That is a win.
Yeah. So yeah, ran in high school, did all that stuff. Spent a lot of time in the woods. And then at that time of my life, I was looking to go to college. It was a big push to go to college. And I was heavily involved with it sounds bad, it's called a work release program. I wasn't incarcerated, but it's basically you can get high school credits to work a job outside of school. So I'd get off and then I would go
Did you get paid too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like double dipping, man, getting high school credits and getting paid.
Yeah. So I had a job at a nursing home as a CNA because I wanted to pursue nursing. And so, yeah, I would leave school and then I would go to work. And then I would work till about 9 because of child labor laws and everything. And then come home and then go back to school. And so I spent a lot of time working through high school. And, it was good, but I wish I would just been a kid. Like I don't want my kids to feel like they need to work. So I missed out on a lot of stuff there, but I gained some valuable working experience early on in my life to be able to kind of transition into adulthood a little bit easier. So then I went to college. At the time I was chasing a girl, and I've already told my wife all this, so she knows this isn't a secret, but I was chasing a girl and I was actually enrolled to go to a school up in La Crosse, UW La Crosse, and that's where she was going. And so I'm like, yeah, I'd love to go up there, whatever. Well, then I decided to not pursue that because I knew I was I was wrapped up in some stuff I shouldn't have been. And so I decided, I'm like, you know what? I should probably ground myself back into my faith a little bit. And so I decided to go down to Pensacola, Florida, to Pensacola Christian College. And that's where I later met my wife. And actually, funny, her brother was my roommate.
Oh, that's cool.
That's how we met, yeah. So so my brother-in-law got to know me a little bit more than
before your wife.
Before my wife, yeah. So it actually kind of worked out. But a lot of eyes on me,
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then I didn't make it into the nursing program. So over there they have they take the top 125 students out of the program. I did well, but just didn't do well enough. And I've never been super good in school. And so yeah, didn't make it into the program and decided, well, I guess this isn't for me. And so I went home, I came back, did business, switched my major to business, and I was narrow-minded at the time. I was like, well, I can't stand this. I wish I would.
You went back to PCC, but for business at that point?
Yep, I went back and did another semester. Well, then I was narrow-minded at the time. I should have just finished out business, but I didn't. And I was like, well, I guess I can't stand this economics class. Obviously, business isn't for me. Again, narrow-minded. And then I decided to just drop out. So I quit. I just decided to quit school. Well, looking back, I wish I would have finished. We can always look back and wish, but wish I would have finished. So I quit, dropped out, went home, worked for 9-10 months, saved up some money. And then my wife and I were kind of developing our relationship a little bit more. Decided to move back down to the area. Lived in an apartment above the water, and it was awesome. I was working at one of the local hospitals and lived in a little garage studio. It was a bachelor pad, like awesome bachelor pad setup on the water. Fished every morning. It was a great time. Worked in a sleep lab, did all that. As a registered polysomnographic sleep technologist, so I did sleep studies and CPAP and all that.
That was a big word, man.
Yeah, it's short as RPSGT. So went to school, did all that, got the certificate. And then, I was just really hating my job. I was like miserable. I hated it, being a CNA and all that. And it's just like, this is kind of a dead end career for me. Like, I feel like I was meant for more. I need to do something else. So there was a lady that I worked there. She would like feed me when I come into work when she knew I was working. She was a older West P lady. And she said, you ought to go try it for the fire department. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, sure. She's like, well, they're hiring. So that's how I found the fire service. I never really envisioned myself being a fireman, but like, you should go become a fireman. So that's what I did. I went down to public safety. I applied to be a volunteer.
Here in Escambia?
Yep, here in Escambia. Yep. And then started volunteering as a firefighter for a little while, and went through the little Fire One Academy, and then went to my first structure fire and just fell in love with it. I remember taking my mask off and looking at one of the lieutenants like, so people can do this for a living and get paid? And he's like, yeah, I mean, you won't make a lot of money, but you'll make an honest living. And, it's the best job I've ever had. I'm like, this is awesome. So I was going to pursue full-time firefighting here, and the history of this place, I was surrounded by a bunch of really toxic people, and the county was going through a lot of growing pains at the time. And I was like, man, I ain't staying around here. So got married and then decided to move to Georgia. So
what did Lauren go to college for?
Lauren went to school for medical office administration. So she worked there she attended school at Pensacola Christian College and got her degree and finished out. So during that time frame, I lived locally. So we were apart, but we were still able to see each other on, a lot of times we do church.
But after she graduated, that's when you guys got married.
Yes. Yep. So she graduated June of 2015, and then we got married. May. She graduated in May 2015. We got married in June of 2015.
Gotcha.
So as soon as she graduated, we got married, and then I was still volunteering in the area. Then September of 2015, we moved from here to Metro Atlanta, and I worked for a department up there for 8 years. And that's kind of where my story kind of begins, if you will.
Before you get there, what in the world made you want to go to Metro Atlanta from Pensacola?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I was like, man, I want to go work for a big department. I want to be in the thick of things, and I want to go work for a big department. So I applied.
Action.
Yeah, I wanted to get in the weeds with it. I wanted to get in the go run the crazy calls and all that stuff. So I saw Gwinnett on the map, and I was like, oh, that's Metro Atlanta. I applied to several departments, and Gwinnett was actually one of the first ones that picked me up. I applied all over the country.
Really? And
at the time, it was around that time frame, it was a little bit easier to get on than like 2008, 2010 time frame.
So you and Lauren were prepared to move anywhere for that?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Anywhere in the country, and we landed in Georgia. So yeah, so I applied, and they picked me up, and they had a paramedic program where you can go through and get your paramedic and go through a 16-month academy. And you come out Fire 1, Fire 2, hazmat, ops, and all that stuff, and with your paramedic license.
Wow.
So it's, at the time, I mean, it still is, but a very, very strict, regimented, you had a demerit system. You could fail out, and a fail out is basically getting terminated. Mm-hmm. So very thankful for that time, and they did a very good job at creating building blocks for me to be able to be successful. Like, they did a very good job at intro level, like getting you ready for the field. Looking back at the time, you're like, man, this is a joke. Like, well, no, looking back, they did a really, really good job with getting everybody ready. So that's kind of my lead up to kind of the main topic of what we're going to talk about today. And if I were to give a title for this episode, obviously it's kind of my story, but it would be learning how to handle the stresses of the job as a fireman. And I've talked about it before, but at the time I was so proud, and I still am proud to be a fireman. And that became kind of my identity. And everything was wrapped around the fire service for me. But I'll kind of come back to that. And so I started my career. I went to one of the USAR stations and graduated the academy. It was a really exciting time. Went to one of the USAR stations, and I enjoyed my time up there, but they were slow. They didn't run a lot of calls, but they were all wrapped up in the rope stuff and everything else. And I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot, but they weren't running the calls. It just wasn't it was like, I don't know. I wanted to be I wanted to be a ghetto fireman. I wanted to go run the crazy calls. I wanted to be busy. I wanted to do all that stuff, but I just wasn't getting it there.
Yeah.
So
You're hearing the stories of all the other
yeah
places getting those crazy calls and
right.
just bored.
Exactly.
USAR, that's Urban Search and Rescue.
Correct. Yep. Urban Search and Rescue. So a high angle, low angle, confined space trench, structural collapse, all that stuff. So bad storm, hurricane, all that kind of stuff. Those are the teams, the FEMA teams that come in and basically help search for life and all that kind of stuff. So they go into rubble piles and try to extract people and stuff like that. So
a high action job, but only select amount of time.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that
How often
team,
do you need that? Not very.
Really good guys. Love the guys up there. They taught me a lot. And I got a couple classes when I was there at that station, but I very limited experience behind that. But the guys did a phenomenal job up there. So I talked to the captain. I was like, "Hey, man, this ain't for me. I want to go be in the ghetto. Like, I want to go run the calls. I want to be, the joke, because I want to be a hood rat fireman. Like that. That's what I want to be. Yeah. So he's like, well, he tried to talk me out of it. And I was like, no, this is what I want. So, well, then the next watch that came in and they said, Nate, you're going to Station 12 down in Snellville. I said, okay, sweet. That sounds great. It was one of the busiest stations in the department. There's really like 5 that are almost the same, but I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. So I showed up, and the crew at the time, the captain, he didn't say much to me, but he came in and he's like, welcome to Company 12. Keep your eyes open, keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Say less, learn more. And your 2 drivers over here, pay attention to them. They'll teach you everything you need to know. And that was kind of my introduction. So it was kind of like it was a really hardened crew. They'd been together for a while.
Yeah.
Really good reputation. So I was the new guy. And, I wanted to be in all of it. We'd show up on fires, and I wanted to force the door. I wanted to stretch the line. I wanted to throw the ladder. I wanted to do everything. And I still am to some degree. And I, oftentimes I get my hand slapped like by some of my drivers, like, hey, you can't do all of it, man. You have a job to do. You got to stick to your job and do it right. And I was also a medic on one of the busiest ALS companies down there. And so naturally with that, you're exposed to a lot of ALS calls and a lot of like really sick, shootings, stabbings, all the stuff that you can imagine.
What's ALS?
Advanced life support. So
gotcha.
We had a medic unit in the station. And so we, ran obviously transports and all that kind of stuff. So then I moved up, became FTO, FTS, whatever you want to call it. So field training specialist. So I was precepting new medics and everything, and rode the box a good bit. With box would mean the ambulance. And loved my time. The first 2-3 years, you're just a sponge. You're just taking it all in. It's like, it's great. You're tired. You love it. The grit, the grime, going to the fires, going to all that. Like, it's awesome. Well, the part that kind of got me was I didn't really realize at the time the guys that were there, you connect with and you build such a strong bond, and it becomes almost normal, the pace that everything's going at, that it's just like, this must be just normal. Like, this is how life is. You come home, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're burnt out, but it's like, but I can't wait to go back. I cannot wait to go back. Like, this is great. And
you end up kind of bored at home.
Yeah.
When there's not so much stuff going on.
Correct. So you go this high pace, high action paced environment, and then you come home and you have to kind of turn it off. And, we didn't have kids at the time. And then our daughter came along, and, that was the most amazing thing, is kids coming into your life. And it really kind of grounded me in a lot of ways. But I guess kind of trying to get to the meat of this. In short, I didn't realize how messed up I was mentally until I was already kind of in it. And I remember having a conversation with one of my drivers. And at the time, I noticed small changes in my behavior and in my speech and in my mindset. I became extremely hardened. I was not happy when I came home. I was only happy when I was at work, even though I was getting basically beat up when I was at work. Not physically, but just, running nonstop. And at the time, I was never like, they never really teach you in recruit school or anywhere. They don't really tell you or teach you how to handle things, like how to handle stress. And so it's basically taking this young, sheltered boy and putting him in the world in this crazy, crazy environment. And then you're
Small town guy in a big city.
yeah, no, for real. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot of things, and I didn't understand a lot of the hate that's in the world, and you'd be exposed to stuff and you're essentially just like, oh wow, that was bad, but you always just kind of just mask it and just kind of move on, right? But there was a call that we ran, and this guy was he was in cardiac arrest or whatever, and we're wheeling him out, and his son was playing Xbox on the TV, like just sitting there gaming, has headset on and everything, just playing Xbox. And I reached over and I snatched the headset off his head, and I looked at him and I said, "This is your dad, dude. You don't want to say goodbye to your dad?" And he looked at me and said, "That guy didn't do anything good for me. Why would I want to say goodbye? He's better off dead."
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Well, then, transport him, whatever. And then afterwards, I thought, like, that reaction was not appropriate. Why did I respond that way at all? Like, why did I feel the need to tell this 13-year-old kid, snatch his headset off his head and tell him that, I'm like, what? Anyway, I just kind of pushed it to the side, right? Well, then the jokes, started getting darker and darker. And I'm like, man, I never used to be like this. What's happening to me? And I think the dark humor, we joke about it as we need to have that as like a coping mechanism. But the more and more that I've kind of gotten into this job, I realize that yeah, it's a coping mechanism to be able to not be emotionally attached to what you're seeing and doing. But at the end of the day, that's not quote normal. Like it's not it like you just take a normal person that's not exposed to these things. Like that's not normal. But at the end of the day, you're this is how you deal with these stresses. And so kind of continued on with things, and I would come home and I was just not happy. I was angry. I was short with my wife, and I come home and feel like I needed to sleep for 4 or 5 hours and just lay, and then the next day then I'm present. Well, I decided when my daughter came along I would start a business because I felt like I needed more money. So now I'm running nonstop, and then I have a daughter, and now I have a job, a landscape business. Of course, I want to grow the business, grow it crazy. So now my off days are now cutting grass, and now I can't sleep. So now I'm working, and then that first business didn't do so well, so I ended up selling it. Well, then I needed to fill that time, so then I worked for another department part-time, and I did that. So now the time that I just freed up, now I'm working part-time at another fire department because that's what firemen do. We work and then we work some more. And then so I did that, and it was fun. It was a lot slower. I had a really good time there. And then I decided, well, I had an opportunity come across my lap about starting up another business, landscaping again. So I picked that business up and ran that one. That one did very well. So now I'm working my main fire job, my part-time job, and I'm cutting 40 yards a week. Yeah. So now I'm really in it,
If you weren't busy before, you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of when things really kind of came to a head for me. And I was tired. I was burnt out, and I have a lot of regrets during that time where I was not nice to people. I'm stressed, and it was like a compounding, cascading, tiered thing, right? Like it was just
it's a spiral.
It was a spiral. Like
one thing leads to another, and it just gets worse and worse. Yeah.
Yes. And so I had a conversation with one of our drivers, and I started picking up some bad habits. I was turning to things. I wasn't sleeping at night. The even on days when I was at home, I wasn't sleeping. I was having horrific dreams, and I didn't realize how much this was really truly affecting me, the job. But I love the job. Like this is who I am. And when you come to work, you just mask it. You don't share what's really happening at home. And I realized that there's a bunch of people in this line of work, whether it be law enforcement, fire, that they've got broken homes. They're not thriving. They're just surviving, and they're just like, yeah, this is how it is. This is what it is, and they feel stuck. And it's sad to watch. And I had a conversation with one of my drivers. I was like, man, dude, I'm really messed up, dude. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I know you've been doing this job. This particular driver has been in this station for 15, at the time, I think he was a driver there for like 15, 16 years at that one station. He's constantly getting beat. And he said something that resonated with me. He said, it's really the hardest part where I'm at right now in my career is watching young guys like yourself that love the job, that are getting beat up like this, and watching how this job changes you. And that really resonated with me. I'm like, I know who Nate is. I still remember who Nate is, but I don't recognize him anymore. Like, he's not there anymore. I'm angry. I never was angry. I'm always a happy-go-lucky guy. Even though the guys that work with me, he's like, oh, Nate's always got a smile on his face. Yeah, he does, but his heart is angry. I would say things to people that I wish I could go back and just change what I said to people, how I treated people. I was a salty dude, and that's not okay, man. That's not who Nate is. And it really, the job changed me. It really did. And I felt indoctrinated where I was at. Couldn't leave, like, why would I leave? Or why would I give up being a fireman? I'm not going to do that. And so the job essentially owned me. I became part of it instead of me being a part of it.
You placed your identity in it.
I did. And that part really bothered me. And this is not normal, and this is kind of graphic to say, but I remember running I don't remember how old he was. We ran a hanging in a basement. And it was like the 15th, 16th call of the day. I was done. I was tired, and I was in the back half of a 48-hour shift on the ambulance, and I was so done. And I walked down there. I saw the dude hanging from the rafters, and I pushed his body, and he swung on the rope. And I just turned around and just didn't even. I was still half asleep. Just like, yep, he dead. And he was.
Yeah.
Like, he was gone. And I was like, well, okay, that's it. And I just walked out. And I cracked jokes about it. Like, that's kind of explicit to say, and it's not like it's a horrific thing, but I became so desensitized to what I was seeing. And I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff that was said, but I was so desensitized to what I was seeing. There was a small voice in the back of my head, and I think it was the Holy Spirit telling me, like, you're not okay, Nate. You need to fix this.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wasn't close to God, and I let my faith. I was a lukewarm Christian. I wasn't who Nate was. My identity should have been in Christ, not in my job. And I was letting the job consume me and who I was. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be the tough guy. I'm going to be the guy that's going to I can deal with all that. I can take it. I can take it. I can take it. I can take it.
Do you think that guy in your department who said that about the job changing young guys, do you think that him saying that helped you a lot? Because it wasn't just you saying, like, I feel like I'm different. It was somebody else saying, this happens to people. It's happening to you. You're changing.
Yeah. It grounded me.
Yeah.
It brought me down. Yep. He very kindly, in a very soft way, called me out. And since then, I've had a lot of guys reach out to me, and I've had that exact conversation with guys that I notice a change in, or I know they're not okay, and grounding them. And they have to eventually draw those conclusions themselves that they're struggling.
Yeah.
But it's a dichotomy of recognizing. You have to recognize that you're messed up. Otherwise, you're just going to keep going. And then eventually those actions turn into completely irrational decisions.
Yeah, either somebody's going to point out to you, or you're going to eventually do something drastic enough that makes it abundantly clear to yourself.
Yeah. So it was kind of hard to admit to myself that, like, I need help. I am not okay. Like I'm seeing, kids like
seeing bad stuff.
Yeah, seeing a bunch of bad stuff, and I don't want to get all into that, but and like you could talk about, like we briefly talked about at the beginning of this. I don't want to glorify the stress of the job. That's not the point of this. But I want people who are listening to this to realize that a normal person like Nate went through stuff and never showed it externally, except for the people that truly knew me. They knew that they saw a change, and they called me out, and they helped me through it in a very kind way. But I don't even think they realized that they were helping me through it. And another driver because we had 2 drivers at our station. He's a Christian, really awesome guy, and he's a really close brother and friend still to this day, even though we don't work together anymore. He was also going through some stuff too, personally, and really started he led this thing called Exodus 90, which is basically like you don't eat any sugar it's like 75 hard, very similar to that. And he challenged me to do it. So like a few of our guys did it on our crew, and I'm like, wow, this is good. Let's do this. And so we did cold showers, no hot showers, all that stuff. And it kind of brought me back to like, man, I need to do something to make myself better. And so that kind of started with that. And he challenged a lot because he was growing. And I'm like, what he's doing right now is exactly what Nate used to be, rooted in my faith, grounded in my faith. And he still is a great leader. And he did a really good job at leading not only himself, but his home and dealing with the stress, because he kind of went through the same cycle that I went through. So anyway, we could talk, and we plan to talk about some of these things a little bit more, but I just want to, before I move on to that topic, I just want to make sure that people understand that I'm not trying to glorify my stress, because there's people that have been dealt a way worse hand, way worse hand. And I could sit here and tell you about all the things that Nate's seen and done, and that's not, I'm not about that at all. I just want
it's not the point.
It's not the point. My point is that everybody's filter eventually will get clogged. And so I'm going to get to the conclusion of how do you deal with your clogged filter?
Yeah. What changed after that recognition that you had and that somebody brought to your attention? What changed from then on?
Yeah. So it started with that Exodus 90 thing that we did. And then, reading scripture again, getting back into it. And I got kind of heavy. I was pretty thick.
A little thick.
I was a little thick, I could still, what's funny though, I was thick, but I could still outperform most of the new guys that came in. So that's a whole nother thing.
Thick and fit.
Yeah, thick and fit. Yeah. I really like that.
It's the new athletic line we're coming out with, or line we're coming out with. Clothes, thick and fit.
Thick and fit with Suffer Up, yeah. No. So anyway, we always did like crew workouts and stuff, but I was just kind of apathetic with all that. And I realized I needed to make a change, and kind of through a lot of circumstances, I came home one day and looked at Lauren, and we've always had this thing that Lauren and I have had. Like if I've had a rough shift, bad call, whatever, I just look at her and say, had a bad call, had a rough shift. I just need an hour of just decompression time. She'd handle the kids. I'd go up, at the time we had an upstairs, went upstairs, and I just either slept, relaxed, decompressed, because you go from high stress, and then you got to be able to come home and turn it off and be a dad, be a husband, and all that stuff, and handle business. So one day I came home and I cried the whole way home. I was just in tears. My filter was clogged, and I looked at Lauren and I said, I got to make a change. I don't know what that change is, but I got to change something.
Do you think that you were crying that day because of what you had seen and like the actual stressors from work, or because you had recognized that it had changed you and you were like upset with yourself?
A little bit of both. Yeah. So like, you could talk about like, the calls, whatever, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's at the time, you just tuck it away, and eventually it just compounds to where you have this massive rucksack on your back, and you just can't carry it in anymore, and it eventually will come out.
Yeah.
A lot of guys don't want to talk about that. They don't want to share that kind of stuff, but I'm here to tell you that it will eventually happen to every single man. And if you break down, it's not a sign of weakness. It's not. if anything, it's a sign of strength because you're able to recognize and understand that you need to make a change. And so that was the point. I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself anymore. I was overweight. I was unhealthy. I had unhealthy habits. I was turning to things other than God to fix my problems, and I was not a healthy. Our three pillars here at Suffer was spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. I had no pillars. I was just floating. I was just there. I was showing up to work. I was trying to be good at my job. Home life.
You weren't floating, brother.
I was sinking, and it was one of those things where I didn't know how to float again. I didn't know how to swim again. And I came home, I looked at Lauren with tears in my eyes. I said, I got to make a change. I don't know what that looks like, but I got to change something. It's like, okay, well, let's pray about it. And through a lot of things and everything else, I decided to leave the department that I was at, which was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. These guys are my brothers. I love them. Looking back, I love the department I worked for. They were a great, great department, and I absolutely loved them. But I needed to step out and remove myself from that situation that I was in because I couldn't find a way out. I couldn't find a way to be able to actually heal myself in that time. And I just really struggled in that moment because I'm like, well, am I running from a problem, or am I actually healing by stepping out? And so I applied and ended up moving down here. And through that time, when I decided that I needed to step out to when I actually stepped out was almost a year. And throughout that year, I was really able to kind of process where I was at. And I started running again. I started working out more heavily, started eating healthier and all those things. And that really kind of helped ground myself with where my mind was at. My mind was not strong. I was apathetic. I was weak. I was just floating. I was sinking. And so, yeah, I found running again. And, when we first met, we shared our why a little bit when we were first kind of getting to know each other. My why is I do not want to see the old Nate again. I joked with the guys at work of like, you better watch out, old Atlanta Nate's going to come out, And there's a lot of funny jokes about that, but the old Nate, I don't want to see him again. And there was a time too, like bringing my faith into this. You go through seasons through your walk with the Lord, and some of those seasons I regret wholeheartedly. I said things I wish I never would have said. I just wasn't walking and upholding the faith like I should. And, I prayed and asked God forgiveness for that, and it's settled with him because of what he did on the cross. But I am rooted and grounded in my faith now more than ever, and I don't want to see that old Nate again. And so that's my why. My why is I'm doing it for the guys. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my family. And so by pushing myself in my runs, in my workouts, and in everyday life to be better each and every day, it gives me a new focus, and it gives me a new way to be able to strive forward, and so that I don't have to go back to the old Nate. And I will not see that old Nate again, because that old Nate is destructive and not healthy and not wise. And through that season, though, of changing my mindset, and part of the reason why we're sitting here and talking about this stuff is ever since then, God's given me opportunities to speak to guys that were very relatable to the old Nate. I don't want those guys to be relatable to the old Nate. I want them to be related to this Nate right now. And not that I'm a perfect being by any means. I still have issues, but I want our people, our listeners, to understand that there is a way out. There is a way to not be that guy. And I'll kind of give you a perspective on this. When I came back down here to Florida to be a fireman here, we ran a hanging. Like I talked about, we ran a hanging, and guy was in his shop, and got him down, whatever, started CPR and did our thing. And then we ended up, he was beyond help, so we ended up calling him. And I went back to the station. It was late at night, and I'm sitting there, and just a tiny bit of Nate felt bad for the guy. And I never remember feeling that feeling before of like, man, that sucks. But then I just smiled and I praised God. I'm like, wow, Nate's back. Like, not to be soft and like, because you have to still have your guards up a little bit and be able to deal with those stresses and the things that you see and stuff. But there was just a small part of me that felt bad for the guy instead of just sloughing it off. Like, human life is important. And so just a little bit of me just felt normal again.
I don't think having a heart makes you not tough.
Yeah.
And that's what you showed in that thought was your compassion, your heart.
Right.
The love side for humanity, not for that person necessarily, but like, man, it sucks that guy felt like that was the best thing to do at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just a small part of me felt normal again. I'm like, wow, this is what it should feel like. Like, I know how to deal with the stress. I've been there, been in the thick of it. But now I'm like, okay, I couldn't help but smile. I'm like, wow, okay. Thank you for giving me a small piece of me back. It's that. And then it was just kind of just one thing after another just kind of compounded into what it is now. And I'm thankful to say that I'm the happiest I've been because of how I was able to handle and process those things and heal. But it took so much time and effort and mental fortitude to be able to just process one thing at a time and realize that I was at the time not recognizable in the mirror anymore. And like, how do I get that back? How do I get the feelings back that I had before? The happy-go-lucky Nate that didn't have any cares in the world. You still carry them, The other day I was driving the rig and there was a piece of trash on the side of the road and I immediately thought it was a kid in the road.
Oh, wow.
But it was a piece of trash. So like those things will always be with you. But it's like, oh no, that's just a piece of trash. Nate, chill out, dude. And that's like horrible to say, but those things will always be with you and you'll always carry them. But you have to just compartmentalize everything and deal with it and process it. And ultimately for me, I just gave it to the Lord and like, Lord, please heal my mind. It's sick. I need to heal this part of me. And so I'm proud to say that through all that, it's the old Nate is now gone, thankfully. And my run, people are like, man, you're crazy to run all these miles and run every morning like this. And it's like, I run because it helps me process. It helps me cope with the things that I still deal with to this day. My crew will say like, man, do you sleep? I'm like, not that great, I don't, but
some things are still difficult.
Some things are still difficult, and it's a constant battle each and every day. But I'm able to process and handle those things much better now than I ever have before. So I'm thankful for that. And anybody who's listening to this, we're going to dive into this topic a lot more. And this is just kind of, I wanted you guys to understand that I've got demons in there, but by the grace of God, they're a lot quieter now than they ever had before. And being able, it's a deep, troublesome topic and everybody's different. But if there's something that has happened to you that you just feel like you're alone in, and because I felt alone at the time, you need to reach out to somebody and put those thoughts to words. Because if you don't speak it out loud, they're not real. They're just in your head. And then your mind is a deep hole. And if you don't get out of your head and ground yourself, like what my driver did, if you don't have somebody to ground you, you will spiral. And I don't know where I would be without my old crew. I really don't. And it's kind of a scary thing, and I don't think about that much anymore. But ground yourself, and I ground myself in my faith. In Christ alone, all things are possible, and He healed me. He's the reason that I'm able to be here and talk about this hard stuff. And I want people to understand, and I want people to relate to this. It's okay to reach out for help. There's resources out there. And if you want to make a change, you have to take small changes that will eventually turn into big changes. And 4 or 5 years ago, if I looked ahead and saw who I am now, I didn't think it was possible. There's small victories, and I'm still dealing with consequences of some of those actions that I made. But there's healing in that. So kind of my story. I'm super blessed, very honored to be able to have this podcast and show to be able to share with you guys some of the sufferings and trials that we've had in life. And there's many, many more, but we don't want to bore you guys with more and more and more of me. But we just wanted to get out there and give you guys a little bit of things that we've been through. And hopefully you guys can relate to this if you are struggling with something right now or have, and you want to reach out and talk about it. There's obviously an email. Reach out to us. The guys who know me personally, my phone's always on. Please call me. And I'm honored when those people have called me and reached out, because that they're able to confide in what I have to say and confide in me and be able to, and I can help them.
They resonate with this.
Absolutely. So that's kind of my story.
Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing your story.
Absolutely. There's more.
I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Obviously, we have a lot of firefighters who listen to this podcast, so I think it'll directly resonate with them. But even people who weren't firefighters, it's a common theme in people's lives. I don't know what it looks like for everybody, but I think everybody reaches that point where they realize, they've changed. Something's changing, or somebody points it out to them, and then they've got to decide what to do at that point. Do you let the spiral take control and take you to who knows where? Yeah. Or do you get control of your life and choose to pull yourself out of it? Yeah.
Because the things that matter most, I hate to say it, but that job, whatever job you have, you're replaceable.
Yep.
What matters is your family. Are you there to take care of your family? You're going to be the best man for your wife. You're going to be the best dad for your kids. Or are you going to be the best fireman in the world? Or can you have all of it? You can have all of it, but it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of diligence.
And it takes prioritize.
Yeah.
If you don't put your family first,
you're
probably not going to be the best fireman.
No. I love the job. I'm ate up with the job. I love what I do. And I heard a guy on the socials say, like, I miss my daughter's birthday to be here and train with you guys and all this stuff. I'm like, why are you like glorifying the fact that you missed your daughter's birthday, buddy? Like, be there for your daughter. This place will still be here. Like, I love your dedication. I love that.
Yeah.
But your family, when this job's done and you retire and everything else, all you're going to have left is your family and your friends. Like, that's it. So pour into the job, love the job. But at the end of the day, all that matters is
pour into it when you're there.
When you're there. Yep. And like we talked about in one of the previous episodes of time, like when you're in the middle of something, like right now we're recording a podcast. So we're present, we're here, we're doing this. But as soon as we're done here, it's time for me to be a dad again, be a husband again. And when I'm at work, I'm a fireman. My wife understands that. I'm in doing my thing.
Compartmentalize your life.
Yep.
I mean, obviously things come up and things kind of blend together sometimes. But if you try and compartmentalize that, it makes it a lot easier to be present for what you're actually doing at that moment.
Yep.
But yeah, man, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
It's an awesome podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Also, like we always say on everyone, is you can check our link tree out in the description of this. Please click follow, like, subscribe, all the things. Share this with somebody that you know that could benefit from it. And if there's any topics out there that you guys want us to hit on or discuss, please share. We're always looking for new ideas, guest speakers, all that kind of stuff. We got some guest speakers that'll be coming up here in the near future. And we're super honored and blessed to be able to do this with you guys. So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.